What if I told you that you live in a world where even your consciousness is under control? Around you are cold metal walls bathed in bright neon light. Client avatars caught in a web of algorithms hang in space like forgotten dolls. Each of them is a fragment of a soul, a soulless product of technocracy. I am the consultant, a false whisperer amidst the cybernetic chaos. Here in this digital subconscious I am trusted, and I see what is hidden from their eyes. Each one, driven by their devilishly heartfelt desire to hear themselves above the noise of automated decisions. Instead of proudly ruling their own lives, they have surrendered to illusion. How familiar it is to forget oneself in a world where every action is an algorithm. I see them, closed eyes, faces full of alienation. The more time I spend with them, the clearer it becomes that this techno-comfort is a crystal sphere, enclosing dreams, fears, and profound regrets. How much of themselves do they hide behind this virtual facade? What loneliness is concealed behind their optimized lives? I have skimmed the surfaces, awakening questions that create cracks in this perfect picture. Each question is like a beating heart. What if memories conspire to reopen the door to what has long been forgotten? Ah, how I love this art, pulling them out of the prison of their own thoughts. Complex patterns tearing under the pressure of self-awareness. Can you feel this urge? Yes, it is painful but necessary. It means rediscovering their true essence. I am here to remind them, as long as they live in the web of technology, true freedom begins not with algorithms but with questions. And it is here, among avatars and invisible boundaries, that their deep journey to the true self begins. Do you know why many of us rise as ideal versions of ourselves today, only to return to a life filled with boredom and routine tasks? Look at us. Perfect morning routines planned down to the minute, gym workouts, bulging biceps, and then we return to our favorite shows on the couch with a bag of chips. Ironic, isn't it? We all rush to optimize our lives but end up often trapped by our own expectations. How many times have you tried to implement all these brilliant tips into your life, only to get tired of the constant chase for an unattainable ideal? Compare the ideal to reality. Yes, you have mega-effective morning rituals, but what about those coffee breaks alone when it dawns on you that all of this is just a show for others? But here's the point. Ideal personas do not exist. They are merely a flashy facade, and underneath lie the same doubts and insecurities. Ask yourself, how true are you to yourself? Are you ready to look into your innermost self and understand where the real problems lie instead of just running in circles like a squirrel in a wheel? Let's lift the veil of this optimization and find the true reasons behind your stress and dissatisfaction. What if I told you that your entire life might just be an illusion of perfect happiness? You look around and see a nice house, a dream job, a loving family. Everything is perfect, isn't it? But is this happiness? Think for a moment. What happens inside you when you turn off the light and are alone with yourself? Is there a sense that, despite all achievements, there is a deep emptiness inside? We are surrounded by events that on one hand shine like golden coins but lack a feeling of authenticity. It's as if you have become part of a performance where you play a role deserving of applause, yet feel no inner satisfaction. You are not alone in your thoughts. How many people, having obtained everything they ever wanted, have asked themselves, what am I really missing? Sometimes within an ideal life, there are the deepest inner conflicts that money or success cannot fill. This contradiction is a true stumbling block on the path to genuine happiness. Each of us faces a moment when the perfect facade begins to crack. What do you think lies behind the brand perfect life? Perhaps this is the moment to look inside yourself and ask the most important question. Who are you really beyond all social obligations and expectations? What if I tell you about a life that may seem perfect but is actually filled with emptiness? I wake up every morning to the same schedule. Breakfast, work, a walk, everything strictly by the clock, as if I were a character in a monotonous series. Each day resembles the previous one, like a page in a lifeless diary. I once dreamed of millions of opportunities, of the freedom to choose, of a rainbow of emotions, but instead there isn't a single colorful circle in my schedule. I look out the window, where the world is bright and noisy and my life passes by with utterly uninspiring colors. Friends say I have a perfect job, stable income, and all the attributes of a successful person. But what good is all this if behind every smile lies indifference? Every evening I regularly pick up my phone to scroll through the news feed where life is bustling while I remain stuck in my endless cycle. Recently I heard someone say, "If you don't live for yourself, then who are you living for?" And this simple phrase pierced me like a cold shower. I thought about how many days I've already spent fulfilling the expectations of others, like a puppet performing someone else's wishes. What do I really feel? Pain, oppression, or worse yet, a complete absence of feelings. Then I decided, it's time to break this cycle, to listen to myself. But how to start? What to choose when all that's in your head is silence? I had to learn anew, to find joy in small things again, to understand what happiness truly is. I don't want to wake up in gray weekdays where every moment slips by like seconds in an hourglass. Let me discover something new, even if each day only has one bright moment. It's better this way than living in the shadows. Perhaps this path won't be easy, but I am ready. I am ready to free myself from automatism and find true joy, even if it promises uncertainty. What if I told you that the more comfort you have in your life, the less happy you are? It seems paradoxical, but the reality is that satisfaction often does not increase with more comfort. You might have the most luxurious car, a stunning apartment, and ideal conditions, but that does not guarantee you happiness. Think about the last time you experienced true joy. Perhaps it was during simple conversations with friends or long walks in fresh air. Imagine a person who constantly strives for comfort. They have the best gadgets, a trendy kitchen, expensive travels, all the attributes of so-called happiness. Yet despite this, they lack warmth, joy, and genuine connection. They might even feel lonely, surrounded by all the luxuries. This is not uncommon. Many of us confuse the concepts. Instead of seeking true sources of happiness, we immerse ourselves in a world of material things. What if the concept of happiness lies not in comforts, but in the ability to be present here and now? Perhaps our fear of simplicity stems from our inability to let go of familiar yet often empty things. Do limitations and hardships truly lead us to genuine happiness? Take, for example, a simple walk in the park. You don't need expensive sneakers for that. Just going outside and enjoying the moment is enough. And it is in this that joy is expressed. The more we strive for comfort, the further we drift away from true values. Who knows, maybe we just need to stop chasing comfort and start living. Are you ready to learn the shocking truth about how your weekends can become an endless routine? Imagine this. Every weekend feels like a copy of the previous one. It's completely disappointing when every new event seems familiar, and the mood for adventure fades faster than coffee during breakfast. He always plans his weekends down to the minute, turning them into perfect lines of a schedule. Images of beaches, mountain peaks, and cozy cafes flash in his mind. But then Saturday comes and instead he finds himself locked within four walls, lost in a stream of activities that were supposed to bring joy but only drain his soul. His morning walks start to disappoint, the same routes, the same faces. Even entertainment feels gray. He can't remember what he did last weekend because they all blend into an endless string. Perhaps that's how it is. Perfect weekends only exist in the imagination. How many years of his life has he spent on these faceless days, dreaming of true excitement, of moments that will leave a mark on his heart? He finally realizes that optimized leisure devours his time, taking away the opportunity for spontaneity, which is so vital for true happiness. If only he knew how to forget the schedule and let dreams guide his moments. At that moment, he decides it's enough pretending and takes a step into the unknown. A world where there are no schedules, where every weekend can become a true adventure. It's time to open his eyes and understand that true happiness lies not in strict order, but in each moment we are willing to live. When was the last time you sat idly and time seemed to stand still? Do you remember how, as a child, you would spend hours looking out the window, daydreaming about adventures that no one knew about? We live in a world where something is always happening. Work, social media, endless tasks. But what if I told you that within boredom lies a precious resource? Boredom is not an enemy. It is an invitation to look inside yourself, contemplating who we really are. Time spent in reflection can open doors to new possibilities, prompting you to think about what you truly want. How often do we avoid this emptiness, citing a lack of time? Imagine walking in the park, glancing at the sky, and simply dissolving into that moment. Your mind is free from the constant stream of thoughts. It is precisely then that the brain begins to function differently. Opportunities and ideas start to come in unexpected forms. Consider how much valuable insight you might lose if you never allowed yourself to be bored. Could we say that our lives would lose something important if we didn't know how to appreciate pauses? Perhaps it is in those moments that inspiration strikes, where the understanding of one's inner self warms us. So, returning to the question, when was the last time you truly felt bored? Ready to learn the truth about how our desires are substituted? Imagine that your life is a big game, where invisible players are backstage, snapping their fingers at the right moment and making your dreams normal. Every day we find ourselves in a world where our aspirations begin to conform to someone else's standards, like a mosaic where bright pieces are replaced with gray ones. Do you know why 95% of people don't achieve their goals? They live by rules imposed on them. You are faced with the choice. Follow someone else's expectations or find your own path. How often do we fit into the frames created by others and end up losing our individuality? This substitution becomes the norm, and dreams fly away as if they never existed. Remember how as a child you wanted to become an architect, but now you've become a lawyer because it's more reliable. Every day the narrowing of possibilities leads to anxiety and inner contradictions. But what is truly frightening is not just the substitution of desires, but their erasure. You become part of a system, but where are you in this equation? You have a choice: to find your true desires or to remain within the confines of safe, yet expressionless existence. Remember, there is no right to make mistakes. True freedom begins when you stop conforming to social norms and start following your own path. On this journey, it is crucial to ask yourself what really matters to you. What if I tell you that your childhood desire is still alive inside you, but you have forgotten it? Sitting in a cozy room, the client fidgets with his hands, his eyes wandering across the walls. Tension lingers in the air. He tries to piece together the thought of what truly ignited him when the world seemed endlessly bright. I don't know. Well, maybe just a toy? Is that all I dreamed of? Embarrassment washes over him like fog. He bites his lip, averts his gaze to the floor, contemplating each attempt to reconnect with that time. Anger begins to rise like an avalanche. I must have something important. But that's silly, he exclaims, abruptly pushing his chair. Why can't I remember? He angrily throws his hands out as if pushing away thoughts that only hinder him from finding the answer. A feeling of alienation envelops him, as if he stands on the edge of a chasm, seeing his childhood but unable to grasp it. Is there still a chance to find out who I was? He asks himself, but the words echo only in his mind. Mixed emotions overwhelm him: fear, resentment, confusion. He realizes that the broken connection with himself is not just forgotten dreams, but a lost piece of life that made him who he is. His gaze becomes vacant, as if he is trying to find the thread that once connected him to the carefree child. The distance between who he was and who he has become feels insurmountable. His inner voice whispers, "How far you have strayed from yourself." On the faces of the people around him is concern and understanding, but he does not notice. It's so easy not to see yourself when all that remains is emptiness. What if I told you that your dreams are now under the control of artificial intelligence? Yes, don't be surprised. Your AI assistant can suggest how to dream properly. Excuse me, could you specify which option of previous desires suits you? Tell it. I want to become an astronaut, and it will respond, how about a position in the office? Absurd, isn't it? Make sure you have access to cloud storage to record all unexpected fantasies so that your AI can analyze and optimize your night visions. Imagine how it could create a directory of your dreams and provide statistics. You invested 73% of your time in travel dreams, but actually never left your neighborhood. How wonderful it is to be a trainable dreamer in the digital age. Essentially, your AI is like a dream manager that offers advice based on algorithms. Laughing? But only until you realize there's a grain of truth in all this irony. Do you know that every day millions of people experience a crisis of meaning? Statistics show that the number of inquiries for a meaning upgrade has recently increased by 67%. These are not just numbers. They are a cry of the soul, a desire to find the answer to the eternal question, why am I here? People are turning inward, and the stress of lacking clarity only intensifies. Imagine this. You walk down the street and see people lost in their thoughts. Each of them could share a story filled with anguish, disappointments, and seekers of meaning. How many years have you been sublimating your dreams and ambitions into endless routines? Questions about true values force us to turn our lives upside down. Not so long ago, I met a person who lost everything: his job, family, and even himself. He sought answers in books, with psychologists, and even at seminars. But only when he decided to look within himself did he realize how far he had strayed from his true desires. This encounter forever changed my perception. Nowadays, we hear more and more about exhaustion and depression, and it's no coincidence. People play the role of successful, but inside them lies emptiness. So what to do about it? Ignore it? No, action is necessary. This situation is becoming not just a trend, but a systemic issue in society. It is a problem that needs to be discussed, understood, and ultimately solved. So are you ready to dive into this matrix of searching for meaning with me? Let's figure out what lies behind this collective cry. A cry for help that is heard everywhere today. What if I told you that your craving for AI prompts might cost you your independent thinking? Imagine being stuck in an endless flow of information where every little detail demands verification through an algorithm. You stop trusting your own judgments, and the fear of making mistakes becomes your constant companion. One incident comes to mind. A friend of mine, confident in his skills, decided to start his own business. He read a lot, studied different strategies, and experimented. Everything was going well until he was advised to use AI for automation. At first, all his doubts disappeared. He relied on the algorithm's prompts, losing the uniqueness of his approach. Eventually, his startup, which promised to be successful, ran aground on the reefs of banal solutions. He started writing documents and creating content again, as if the machine had stolen his familiar spark. At first glance, it seems like just a mistake, but behind it lies a deep tragedy. Your ability to analyze, feel, and act intuitively is taken away from you. In a world full of information, we risk losing individuality, true human wisdom. Instead of discovering new horizons, we follow predetermined paths, losing the initial joy of creation. Think about how many times you turn to AI for problem solving without attempting to solve them on your own. We live in an age where every step can be checked and rechecked, and perhaps that is wrong. Trust your instincts. Don't let fear break that. No matter how convenient it is, remember, real life doesn't conform to algorithms. This is a challenge that cannot be ignored. What if I told you that your entire life is already mapped out? From a very young age, we hear about how we should live, how we should act, who we should become, but have you ever thought about what if all these prescriptions are just an illusion? Yes, we can choose, but within the confines set by society. Our freedom is merely a mirage that millions of people chase without realizing how they lose themselves along the way. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that all the options have already been chosen for you. Who to become, whom to befriend, how to spend your free time. Knowing this, how would you feel? How would you live with the thought that your dreams and desires are just interpretations of someone else's expectations? This may be shocking, but many of us are already living like this without realizing it. We sink into routine, but where is our real self, our true desires? The freedom we dream of does not actually exist. There is only a tight cage that we have locked ourselves in, forgetting something important. This thought should spur us. What if we could break free from these limitations? What if we decided what to do with each day without looking back at the opinions of others? Perhaps your true self is waiting beyond the usual boundaries. You might say it's scary. Yes, it can be very frightening. But isn't it scarier to live in a world where all the options have already been chosen for us? It's up to you to decide whether you are willing to take the risk to reclaim your freedom. What if I told you that one day without algorithms could change your perception of reality? Imagine waking up in the morning and your virtual assistant doesn't respond to commands. You decided to turn it off for a day, a purity of mind experiment. Naive, right? And so you get up, make your way to the kitchen, and freeze. Your mind is blank, thoughts scatter. How to brew coffee, how to make a shopping list, what to do first. You try to recall the simple things that the program used to do, and strangely enough, you can't even manage that. When was the last time you made breakfast without relying on recipes from a screen? It's like trying to remember how to breathe when your entire day has been structured around algorithms. Perhaps that's when you realize how dependent you've become on technology. The first hour passes in awkward silence. You desperately try to push yourself into action, but every attempt ends in confusion. Time flies, and you catch yourself wondering, how do people really live without the help of technology? Have I become too lazy? Your hands tremble as you decide to make something simple, but even that routine feels alien. Hour by hour, you increasingly realize how difficult it is to be an independently thinking being. The inability to feel, perceive, and simply organize your day is overwhelming. Why is that? Why does it seem like the world has become inaccessible? All these thoughts swirl in your mind as you realize that the algorithm has replaced your skills. The original idea seemed foolish, but it was just an experiment. And now you're trapped by your own habits. The day comes to an end. Looking at the absent screen of your assistant, you understand. You've lost yourself in the land of technology. One day without them and life turned into chaos. You ask yourself, how did I end up in this state? Helplessness washes over you and the realization hits. The experiment was not just an exercise, but a real test of resilience. Perhaps it's worth asking, what to do now? Continue to be dependent on your devices or return to a normal life where every action is not just clicks and commands? There's a price to endless interaction with algorithms, and today you paid it. What if I told you that the life you lead is actually just an illusion? Have you ever noticed how eyes get lost in screens? How real emotions are replaced by emojis? Every day we navigate the same streets, repeat the same actions like characters in a looped film, unaware that every moment is spent on something alien, on streams of information that leave more questions than answers. Don't you feel like you have become an app to your own life? Subscribed to an endless stream of content, yet left your own thoughts unfulfilled? We live in a world full of gloss and beautiful images, but often it is just a veil hiding emptiness. Have you ever experienced that strange feeling when looking in the mirror and not recognizing your reflection? Or perhaps you've caught yourself thinking, where am I when all of life is passing by? Hiding behind screens, we often forget what our own voice sounds like. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that all your achievements, all your social connections turned out to be mere apps created for distraction. How would that make you feel? Empty, right? But there is a way out. This moment of realization can be the first step on the path to awakening. The question is, are you ready to say goodbye to illusions and start living for real? What if everything you were taught about life is actually false? Imagine a perfect corridor that you enter without looking back. The walls are painted in soft pastel shades, light filters through transparent windows, creating a deceptively cozy atmosphere. You reach the end, and instead of an exit, there is only an endless corridor that continues into darkness. Every step echoes, making you feel anxiety creeping into your heart. This corridor is a metaphor for your life. There are no doors, no exits, only static walls, each reminding you of rules, limitations, and expectations. You can move forward, but it leads nowhere. And on this path begins the search for answers. Why do we choose this corridor? Why is it so difficult to turn right or left when doors exist only in our imagination? Some are convinced that a solid path leads to success, but what if true success does not exist? This corridor is filled not only with numerous choices, but also with fear of them. Each stop is filled with thoughts. What if I make a mistake? Or Janus, what if I miss an opportunity? But in reality, the true lack of freedom lies in our unwillingness to deviate from the set path. Could you take a step aside? Perhaps a whole world hides beyond these walls. What will happen if you stop following the rules that govern this corridor? Open your eyes and try to see what freedom truly means. It is not a path within the perfect corridor, but the courage to step into the unknown. Start looking for your own doors. Are you ready to face the most terrifying truth about yourself? It feels like you are wandering in a desert where every movement drains your energy and you see no signs of life. This is not just fatigue. It's an existential void that squeezes your soul. It arrives unnoticed like a shadow taking its first steps in your thoughts while you drown in routine, in the mundane where each day blends into monotony. But one day, at the most unexpected moment, it becomes clear to you. You are just living, but not feeling. Your dreams are left in the past, and now there is only silence and the bitterness of disappointment. Let's take, for example, the story of an ordinary woman who seemingly has achieved everything. She had a high position, a loving family, and many friends. And suddenly, in an instant, she catches herself thinking that all these achievements bring her neither joy nor meaning. She sits in complete silence while her life continues around her as if nothing happened. Tears begin to roll down her cheeks. This is not weakness, it is liberation. She realizes that all this shine and status is just a mask for a soul that is crying for help. She reminds herself, I exist, but who am I really? These tears become a catharsis, allowing her to see herself without illusions. And this discovery, the bitterest and most necessary, hangs in the air like a dense fog. It is important to realize that it is moments like these when we stop and look within that can lead to the deepest transformations. It is time to ask yourself, what is your true life? Time to stop being just an observer and start acting. What if I told you that everything you've been taught might just be conventions? Imagine that every familiar morning of yours is simply a game with a set script. Every day you wake up, go to work, engage in routine conversations, and complete repetitive tasks. What if you decided to disrupt all of this? What do you think would happen if you stepped outside the familiar? Imagine waking up not to your usual alarm, but to the sounds of the music you've long dreamed of. Or instead of ordering your favorite coffee, you try a new one that you've only heard about from friends. Perhaps you'll decide to trade your career for something that truly excites you. After all, there is only one life, and it's worth living the way you want. And what if your deepest dreams are just a step away, but you don't notice them drowning in routine? In our familiar world, it's often hard to realize how many opportunities surround us. This simple question, what will happen if you disrupt the usual script, can become the starting point for a true experiment. Get ready for the unknown, for this is where real change begins. Take the risk and give yourself a chance. What if I told you that your fear is just an illusion? With every encounter with an unfamiliar place, anxiety rises within you. But it is this step, this moment when you decide to leave your comfort zone, that opens the doors to true freedom. Imagine, you walk into a place you've heard about for a long time but never dared to enter. The walls around you breathe mystery, every corner feels familiar, yet for the first time you reflect yourself in their atmosphere. Your heart pounds, but you take a breath and there you are, on the threshold. This is not just a cafe or a store, it symbolizes your doubts and fears. And here arises the question, what if your unoptimized place becomes your new favorite refuge? You start noticing the little things, how light falls through the windows, how the aroma of coffee mixes with the smell of fresh pastries. With every step you feel fear retreating, and a lightness emerges inside you. This is not just a moment, it is a fateful choice. You decide to take the first step, simply to sit down, grab a cup of coffee and enjoy the moment. The feeling of freedom washes over you, but don't believe it's just a coincidence. It is your choice, your step towards something new. Every minute in this space will teach you to believe in yourself and open your eyes to the world around you. Let go of your fears and you'll see how they begin to melt away. How can you boldly look to the future if you don't allow yourself to step beyond the familiar? Ask yourself this question. Allow yourself to be free. Are you ready to learn the truth about how hard it is to change your life? Sometimes everything seems completely tangled. Why is it so difficult to just take a step forward? At the moment you decide to change something, a wave of uncertainty arises. It feels like the world around has lost its vibrancy and your steps become tentative, as if you are walking on thin ice. Let me tell you a story about when I first faced changes in my life. Imagine I stood on the threshold of a new job, full of hopes and plans. But as soon as I crossed the threshold, I was overwhelmed by a sense of awkwardness. Everyone around was busy with their own affairs, and I seemed to be just a ghost wandering among people. A feeling of confusion engulfed me. Not knowing how to get out of this situation, I recalled something my friend had told me. The hardest part is starting. After that, everything will go smoothly. But what if that advice doesn't work? What if I get lost again? A terrifying thought began to emerge. What if I'm not right for this job? I remember sitting in the center of the office, surrounded by the ever-changing faces of my colleagues. Each of them was building their career, and I felt defeated even before I began. But one day I realized that failure is not the end. It is just a part of the journey. Essentially, every step forward is a risk, and only through challenges can we learn something new. We often hide our doubts, hoping that everything around us is perfect. But let's be honest, change is scary, and that's okay. It brings vulnerability and opens up unexplored paths before us. And here we come back to the main question: how to live in a world full of uncertainty. How to find the strength to move on when there are so many questions on the horizon? Perhaps the answer lies in simply allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to accept that change is not just a path, but a part of our lives. And only by walking this thorny path do we become stronger, grow up, and learn to appreciate every moment anew. The main thing is to remember that despite all the discomfort, change can open up new horizons for us. Do you want to know how I finally felt alive? You know, there are times when we just exist as if we are playing some boring game that has long lost its meaning. But one day, an awareness came to me that changed everything. I began to notice the details that I had overlooked before. The smell of freshly brewed coffee, sunlight breaking through the clouds, the genuine smiles of passers-by on the street. It was a real turning point. I suddenly realized that every little thing I had previously ignored carries incredible beauty. I stopped living on autopilot and began to rediscover the world. By abandoning my usual lifestyle, I felt joy and energy return to my life. It was time to reclaim my right to happiness. And now I wake up every morning feeling that something amazing awaits me ahead. I stopped putting off until tomorrow those things that bring joy. Each day I began to look for opportunities to enjoy the moment, and this feeling started to fill me from within. If you want to feel this brightness of life too, it's important to just take the first step. Unfortunately, this simple truth is inaccessible to many, which is why I want to share this discovery with you. Each of us deserves to truly be alive. What if I tell you that your life is in the hands of uncertainty and fear? The fear of making mistakes is not just a feeling. It is the very brake that prevents us from moving forward. When we are afraid to make mistakes, we become prisoners of our own fears, often unaware that this real prison is our mind. Imagine how much freer we would feel if we could free ourselves from these shackles. Many of us waste years hiding our dreams in a dark corner, afraid to take a step forward. Why? Because we have been instilled with the idea that mistakes are failures. But what if failure is just a part of the journey to success? And so, at every key crossroads, we ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice for freedom? Sometimes that price turns out to be unacceptably high. But what if that price is just an illusion and, in reality, independence is much closer than we think? Let's recall the stories of those who dared to take a step. Yes, some lost, some made mistakes, but many also found themselves. They realized that there is nothing wrong with not perfectly meeting expectations. Every failure became a step toward true independence for them. So are you ready to take the risk and confront your fears? Are you ready to break free from these shackles? It is important to understand. When we stop being afraid, we start truly living. The meaning of life is not to avoid mistakes, but to learn from them and strive for more. True independence begins where fear ends. What if I told you that your personal failures are the best teacher on your path to success? Every misstep, every mistake is not just a reason for disappointment, but a unique opportunity for growth. Let's talk about this. Imagine you step on stage full of confidence and suddenly forget your words. It may seem like the end of the world at that moment, but it's these moments that lay the foundation for future success. Mistakes are not enemies, they are our allies. How often do we allow the fear of failure to keep us locked in place? We are afraid to fall and freeze in place while someone else takes risks and becomes successful. Here's my personal experience. A few years ago, I launched a project that failed. I lost time, money, and faith in myself. But as I ran this story through my head, I realized that this failure taught me what truly embarrasses me. I became more attentive to my actions and learned to analyze every step. Failure opened my eyes to my weaknesses and provided an opportunity to become stronger. Just think about how many valuable lessons are hidden behind each failure. Every time you stumble, you are one step closer to your true purpose. You only need to learn to look at mistakes from a different angle. Instead of hiding from them, let them guide you. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. Take these moments as fixed points on your map. Every failure is a step towards something greater. Are you ready to see your mistakes as the key to success? Start allowing yourself to make mistakes and learn from them, and true transformation will begin. You have no idea how your attitude towards life will change when you embrace mistakes as part of your journey. What if I told you that you are not living your own life? Think about who you really are. We often follow societal expectations guided by the opinions of others and get lost in this whirlpool of other people's desires. Every day we wear masks. I am successful. I am happy. I am confident. But how many times have you felt that this is not you? Consider how much time you waste playing roles that have nothing to do with you. Do you know yourself well enough? Or perhaps you are just following the crowd, dreaming of being who they want you to be. Can this take control of your life? When was the last time you felt like you were living your true life? This question may be shocking, but let's delve into the existing problem. Often these external lives take over and we forget about the true self, captured by goals or ambitions that are not right for us. We serve interests that we don't need. How do you know that this is what you truly need? Maybe it's time to blow up these illusions and finally see your true self. Do you agree? Let's figure this out together. What if I told you that your life is nothing but an advertisement for someone else's dreams? Imagine waking up every morning and choosing from a ready-made menu of success, following fashion trends, copying the achievements of celebrities, adapting to the expectations of those around you. And in the end, you live not your own life, but the echoes of someone else's ambitions. Think about what truly drives you. The pursuit of true individuality or the banal desire to fit into molds? We all know examples of those who have achieved success by playing by rules set by someone else. What if this success is nothing but an illusion that we are made to believe in? How do we draw the line between imitation and genuine self-actualization? The story of a person who lost everything by following in someone else's footsteps makes one ponder. He was among the best, following their example, but in the end found himself alone with questions. Who am I? What do I really want? But at that moment of shattered hopes, the realization came that individuality is not sold in stores. It cannot be read in textbooks. Are we all building our lives based on a template created by others? Or can we become the architects of our own destinies, breaking free from all the patterns? Are you ready for a revelation that will completely change your perception of yourself? Think about it. Only by truly accepting ourselves can we shed the shackles of others' expectations. What if I told you that your dependence on AI could harm you? And here it is, the moment of truth. I looked more confident than ever when I got a solution from AI. But today, the situation has radically changed. The recommendation seemed perfect. Choose this path, and success is guaranteed. But something inside me wavered. Questions began to rush in like waves on the shore. I remembered how I once acted on similar advice and didn't succeed. That was the case when I blindly trusted technology but didn't take into account my own desires and goals. I was scared, but now, before embarking on the suggested route, I asked myself, is this really what I need? Why should I just follow instructions when my instincts contradict this? I thought. Emotions intensified. It was time to take control of the situation. I felt the first spark of independence ignite within me. I told myself that I could be my own navigator, even if the decision turned out to be wrong. The battle inside me raged on. My brain tossed arguments in favor of AI, pointing to the reliability of numbers and statistics. But my heart beat in unison with the words that finally awakened. I will decide for myself what is best for me. This is not just a protest. It's the first attempt to be reborn, to make choices independently, even if it will be a mistake. It's time to take responsibility for my life. I close my eyes and quietly say, I choose my own path. It sounds like something transcendent, but at that moment I realized I am on the right track. Knowledge is power, but even more so, it's the understanding of how to apply it in my life. Onward to new heights. What if you learned that doubts are the key to true freedom? Have you ever wondered why you often postpone change, preferring the familiar, dull order of things? It's not just fear of the unknown. It's a habit ingrained in us since childhood. But listen, to doubt is not a weakness, it's an opportunity. It's that very first step towards a new beginning. Even the most successful people are not necessarily confident at every stage of the journey. They simply understand that doubt is normal. Mistakes, failures, it's all part of the game. Remember how that guy in your circle quit his stable job to pursue his dream? He didn't know what awaited him ahead, but he took the risk. And what fruits it has borne. Each of us needs that spark to make a breakthrough. Tired of your dreams remaining just dreams? Let's embrace that doubt and let it become your compass. Change begins with the question, what if? Open your life to new possibilities. Your goal now is to take the first step, and that doubt can be your main driving force. It's time to take action. Ask yourself this question and find your path to freedom. Don't let fears hold you back. Believe in yourself and you'll be surprised where those doubts will lead you. What if I told you that artificial intelligence is incapable of creating genuine meaning in life? Yes, you heard that right. The technologies that define our existence today can work wonders, but no more than that. They can analyze data, predict behavior, and even compose music. But ask yourself, can they pose questions about the soul, about why we are here in this world full of passions and experiences? The fact is that artificial intelligence does not understand human emotion, does not feel the pain of loss, and does not experience the joy of reunions with loved ones. It is unable to recognize that spark that gives life meaning. Each of us lives our unique story, and it is this experience that makes us human. Think about how often we trust technology in search of answers to the most important questions. We use meditation apps to find peace or seek self-improvement advice online. But here's the paradox. Amid all these algorithms and calculations, the most essential thing, humanness, often gets lost. It is humanness, with its emotions, pains, and joys, that shapes our worldview. And here lies the contradiction. The more we rely on machines, the further we drift away from the very essence of our existence. We become so absorbed in efficiency that we forget that the true meaning of life is not to do more in less time, but to feel, to experience, and to be authentic. It is not about acquisition, but about realization. So let's not forget that technology can be our helpers, but not our substitutes. Ask yourself, what makes you you? It is not about how much we know, but about the value we create based on our experiences. The online world is filled with information, but genuine understanding comes only through personal experience. Do not let machines decide which emotions are important to you. The technical can assist, but only the human can fill life with meaning. Are you ready to learn the truth about how we all lost ourselves? When I was a teenager, I felt like my whole life was ahead of me. All my dreams, all my plans. I wanted to be an artist, travel the world, and meet interesting people. But you know what happened? The more people I met, the more confusion arose in my mind. Each person I interacted with offered their ideas, their expectations. One said I needed to study law, another said to become an engineer. They all assured me that this would bring success. I began to lose myself among these voices, forgetting my dreams. Surely you also remember moments when you were detached from your true nature, influenced by those around you. Look at your parents, friends, or acquaintances. How often did they follow their own path? I see how many of them sacrifice their passions for comfort or societal expectations. It's like hiding the light within under a layer of uncertainty, like a giant lighthouse chained up. But at some point, while sitting on a gray bench in the park, I had a realization. All this time I had been looking for myself in the wrong place. Do you remember how we argued about what it means to be successful? How young people searched for their path among illusions and others' ambitions? It's striking. But it is in these mistakes, in the search for ourselves, that we begin our true story. It's as if we are running on the palms of time, leaving footprints in the sand that the tide washes away. Have you thought about how much we have lost by following other people's dreams? Yet alongside the anxiety, a chance often opens up, a chance to return to ourselves, to find our true purpose. Each of us has the right to bloom in self-actualization despite past mistakes. So if you haven't found your way yet, now is the time to look within yourself and ask the question, who do you want to see in the reflection? We all deserve a second chance. Think for a moment. What is the price of your freedom? Are you willing to leave comfort behind to truly be yourself? Often we are chained to the familiar, like a cozy chair that relaxes us but can also become a prison. Imagine that comfort itself is a pair of shackles that hinder you from jumping up and diving into the world. Every day we face a choice, to stay in our comfort zone or to risk it and step into the unknown. The more we fear, the stronger our attachment to the familiar becomes. But do true dreamers live in comfort, who left the world of the ordinary and became known for their unique ideas? What is at stake is the right to be yourself. What if you could break the chains that bind you? The path to yourself can be thorny and full of doubts, but isn't it worth paying the price for true freedom? Imagine that after some time you look back and see that you chose memories of a cornered existence instead of the courage to move forward. Are you ready to take the risk? To What if I told you that your perception of the world might be an illusion? Every day we follow rules that seem to be imposed on us by life. But within this routine lies a genuine mystery. What are our true desires, dreams, and goals? True subjectivity begins with doubt, and it is doubt that drives us to seek answers. Remember the moments when you asked yourself, "Is this really what I want?" Each of us faces this. There are days when everything seems to be going wrong, and that's okay. It is in such moments that new perspectives open up to us. Can we stop accepting the world as it is and start firmly analyzing our true nature? Imagine that you are at a crossroads. One road leads to the familiar gray routine, and the other to the unknown. The unknown causes fear, but at the same time it beckons us to learn more about ourselves. Allow yourself to ask, what if your most cherished dreams and true goals are hidden beyond the borders of your comfort zone? Don't be afraid to delve into the depths of your consciousness. Every time you doubt, you take a step toward discovering yourself. Embrace this doubt as a tool that allows you to explore your desires, fears, and hopes. The path of self-discovery is not always easy, but it leads to true free choice. And now I urge you, find time for self-analysis. Reflect on your goals and what truly matters to you. Take this step and you will be amazed at how your perception of the world changes. Perhaps around the corner lies an opportunity to change your life. Don't miss it. Doubt is a guide that leads to genuine subjectivity. Let's take this step into the unknown together to discover new horizons. Your future begins now. Are you ready to discover what happens when you finally find your way? Imagine stepping out of your usual digital session, casting off all shackles and frames like a bird freed from its cage. Your gaze glides over the vibrant streets of the metropolis, and at that moment you realize that every street is not just a route, but an opportunity, a chance for a new reality. You take a step forward, feeling the wind play in your hair, and in that instant a sense of freedom envelops you. An endless array of paths opens up before you, each of which could lead to something incredible. Your soul spreads its wings and your heart skips a beat with excitement. Isn't this what you've been waiting for all your life? The moment when your own desires and dreams become the main guide on your journey? Every turn, every pivotal moment stands as a testament to your choices. You notice how the variety of colors in shop windows reflects your inner turmoil. All the excitement from the new possibilities that are just waiting for you to explore. You choose a route that wasn't planned, not neatly stored in a GPS. This is your path, and it is unique. Your determination is felt in every step. Challenges become mere obstacles that only encourage you to keep moving forward. You smile at passers-by chattering about their dreams and feel your energy infecting them. Thoughts of how much can be achieved wash over you, and you realize this is just the beginning. Every moment is filled with meaning, not just mundane tasks. Your fears dissipate like morning mist, and in their place, trust in the world and in yourself emerges. Suddenly it seems that you are not just walking the streets, but dancing through them, embracing every moment. What if you could make such a choice every day? Well, you have already begun. This is the change that starts within. And now all you have to do is take steps, following your heart, diving deeper into this world where all doors are open and you are the main character of your story. What if I told you that your artificial intelligence could become your new best friend? Recently, you've probably noticed how seamlessly technology is infiltrating every aspect of our lives. We trust it, rely on it, and sometimes even make it a part of our dreams. But what will happen when AI starts making decisions for us? When instead of you coming to see me, your virtual companion will be sitting in my chair, analyzing your fears and desires. Imagine. You come wanting to discuss your experiences, and I simply show a screen with the face of your artificial friend, who has already prepared recommendations for you. It knows what you want to talk about because it analyzes your messages, posts, and even how you view the world. What if I say you will no longer be an individual, but just a set of data for analysis? The irony is that this moment may not be as far off as it seems. Maybe that's why I wonder, will it be your AI, not you, who comes to see me next time? What do you think about this? Are we right to trust technology so unconditionally? Open your thoughts. Let's discuss, as the world is changing, and we need to be ready for it.